Ah, durka durka durka.
Oh, friends, welcome to another shitty review of a knife you never heard of. But you actually should have heard of this one. I mean, it's a great knife. So you probably haven't heard of it, but you should have. That's going to be the point of this review. This is the Kizer Task. Um, all right, so let's just get rid of the basics. So if this isn't your thing, you can get out of here. Kizer Task, of course, is made in China, 154 cm. It's got a 3-inch blade, which feels a little bit small. That's my only negative about this knife is that the blade profile feels a little small. Everything else I'm good with, and I really like. It's light at less than 3.5 ounces. It's got a hollow grind, which is really practical. If you watch any of Stas's videos, you'll see that blade shape just performs well. I did have to break down cardboard today. I used this knife and it just rips right through it, much better than a flat grind. I do have to say that. Clutch lock, which is Kizer's version of the axis lock from Benchmade, and I will talk about that a little bit more. But this knife, so here's the rub about this knife. Lots of Kizers go on sale for crazy prices. They seem like they liquidate stuff more than anybody else at a crazy price. This knife has been out for, I'm not sure how long, at least 6 months, maybe more, maybe closer to a year. It's really still at the retail price, which is interesting to me because Kizer does stuff like I picked up a Kizer bag lighter, mini bag lighter, really cheap recently. And it's because they're so aggressive when they want to liquidate something. But that's not the case here. I wanted this combo, the satin grind and the micarta, black micarta. And you know, it's 82 bucks. It actually just is what it is. There's nothing, it's not like cheaper. This is May 2025. It's not cheaper at White Mountain Knives. It's not cheaper at Atlantic Knife. If it's not cheaper at those two places, it's not cheaper. That's the price of this knife. You can get this knife for like $59 in G10, but this is what I wanted. So, you know, 82 bucks new. Is it worth that? I got this like new off Knife Swap on Reddit for 55, and I'm really into it for that price. For 82, feels like maybe, I don't know, just gut check. This feels like a $70 knife for me in terms of the quality, but in terms of everything else, I love this knife. So let me transition to that. The TLDR on this review, this piece of shit that no one's going to listen to, is that this is a great knife, and I like it already, and I'm going to be using it a lot, and I highly recommend it. So that is the get to the point TLDR. So for me, this was one of my first knives. This was my first nice knife that I EDC'd. It was a gift. It's a Benchmade mini griptilian. I didn't know anything about knives. I researched, and then I made some mistakes. First of all, this knife is too small for me. It's not really a 4-finger knife. Secondly, this half serrated thing I think is kind of silly. I think a regular flat, regular plain edge is more useful for most situations. I'm not cutting rope all the time. And I do like the grippiness of this knife, by the way. I carried this as my EDC for a long time. You can see the blade is definitely plenty of wear. It's actually a little tricky to sharpen because of this profile, but when I got into knives, I sort of I realized that this mini griptilian for 130 bucks in S30V was, I realized it was a ripoff. I realized it was the equivalent. This knife should have been like 70 bucks. And so I started to hold that against the whole axis lock thing. And also at the time, when I had this knife and I wasn't into knives yet, I had a couple knives. I I didn't know how to tune a knife. I didn't know about oiling it. I didn't know anything. So the way that it came from the factory, and it just wasn't, it wasn't up to the standard that I have now. Now that I've tweaked it, it's okay, but actually, you know, I tweaked this recently, so this knife actually feels pretty good to me at this point, but it wasn't like this when I carried it for the most part. So for that reason, I kind of held that against the whole axis lock, clutch lock, whatever you want to call it, crossbar lock thing for a long time. Now, so most of my knives are liner locks. I don't have them here. I just brought out some of my clutch locks. So I got this knife off Knife Swap on Reddit recently. This is the Kizer Sub 3 OBK. This is a knife that is very low profile. Nobody talks about it. It wasn't very successful, but man, the action on this thing is phenomenal. In fact, I think the action is honestly better than this because of the snappiness, but there are other pros here. But first of all, separate from this review, can wholeheartedly recommend this. I basically have the same feeling about these two knives. Everything is great except for the knife itself. The blade feels a little too short. So I look at this and I'm like, this is the Kizer Sub 3 OBK and it's sub 3, so it's legal in lots of places, but it feels just like it should be another 1/4 of an inch. Same thing here. I'm willing to give this a pass because they literally put it in the name. So obviously it was kind of the point of this knife was to feel good in your hand, full size knife, but blade meets legal restrictions, but is still useful. And for that reason, I can completely recommend this. Totally underrated. The Kizer Task makes no such kind of like advertisements. So if the fact that this blade is to me also a little undersized, I would like it to be a little bit more. And there's actually, I think, really space for that. If you see where that comes through and where that lands, there's a lot of space between, it'd be a little hard to pick up on, but there's a lot of space between the edge of the blade. And they could have maybe, well, I guess what I would have done is I would have made this less like a, you know, whatever this is. This isn't even a 45 degree. This is maybe a 60 degree angle. Make it like 70. Cut a little bit of, make it a little bit more upright. Doesn't really affect anything in my opinion. And then make the whole thing a little bit longer and so it can fit. That would have been, but that's a very small thing. There are so many great things about this knife. Don't get it twisted. This is a great knife. Crossbar locks, I bought this clone 940. Again, like this sucks. Okay, this is some crappy clone. This is Benchmade. It's okay. They invented the thing, but these two Kizers are so far and above these random AliExpress clone of the 940 and true Benchmade Mini Griptilian that let's just put them aside. Love this and will continue to carry this because it occupies a slightly different slot than this Task for me. But I just like the fact that nobody talks about this knife. I got this pretty randomly and I think it's fantastic. But the whole point of this knife, or point of this review, is the Kizer Task review. So I mentioned the negative, but it's really about positives with this knife. First of all, I like the look of it. The micarta, I think, is gonna age or patina really well or whatever. Kizer has the clutch lock. The clutch lock, I was gonna take this off, take the scale off, but you don't have to. I don't really feel like doing it. Basically, if you take this off, you only have to take off this screw and this screw. I already did it. This is a clutch lock, axis lock, and so there's a spring. And so depending on where part of the spring goes around here, like this handle and the pivot, and part of it hooks into the liner itself. And the closer it is to the liner, so there's 5 adjustable slots. So if you pull it out further, it will stretch the spring out and it will be easier to pull back. If you push it in closer, it will be tougher. It will have more tension. There's 5 slots. They come on the 3rd slot, and I think the 3rd slot is actually perfect. I got this knife used, and it was on the 2nd slot, and I was like, nah, it's a little too drop shutty, or, you know, I moved it back to 3, and it's awesome. So, first of all, the clutch lock on the Kizer stuff, same experience here on the Sub 3 OBK, is awesome. And just flat out better than this knife, which is much more expensive. Other thing that's super cool, so T6, you can adjust the thumb stud location just with the T6 here. You move it. It came all the way up to the edge, and I decided, you know, I basically decided I wanted to put it right where my thumb would actually be. I can get a little bit of momentum, and this feels just perfect. So I'm actually, because I kept this down a little bit lower, I mentioned this somewhere else, but this knife is a little bit hard for me to reverse flick because I really got to be careful about keeping this out of the way, flicking upward, and not impeding the progress. But this one, because I moved this stud down a little bit, it's a little bit more comfortable for me, and I feel like the reverse flick is a little bit easier. It's not 100%, but it is maybe 80, whereas this one's maybe 60, something like that. I'm not particularly great with the reverse flick on a crossbar lock knife. Anyway, the fact though, what I want to say is so great about this is the fact that you can tune the tension on this lock. Okay, again, this is in the middle. You can make this tighter or looser. It's in the medium position. The medium position is perfect. So what that means is that if you really want something tighter that it's not going to fall unless you push it, you've got 2 options to dial up, and the same on the other side. The fact that it's so great at the middle level means that this knife is going to be so good for so many people. It's small, it's not scary looking, it's light. This hollow grind, you know what, let me go get the calipers and see if I can measure this damn thing. All right, here we go. So let's see if I can measure shit. So this is a hollow grind. This knife checks a bunch of boxes for me because, like I mentioned, I want to give the Axis lock another chance. The hollow grind thing, I've watched a bunch of videos from Stasa23, and I'm a light use user, so this feels like it's the right move, the hollow grind, and it's, you know, relatively, probably 80% of the knives you see are flat grind. So I wanted to get something in hollow grind. I wanted to get this. I wanted to get a clutch lock from Kizer. I wanted my Micarta. I don't have too many knives in that. And this knife, man, it just checks a lot of boxes for me. The fact that it's really easy to customize and fidget with, but it's also useful. I broke down some cardboard today, and it really cut through it quickly and easily. The blade stock at the top. Oop, come on, top. Come over. 0.11, but I measured like 18 thousandths behind the edge here. We'll get down to here. So it's quite thin. Starts out pretty thin, no jimping, gets really thin with the hollow grind, and I think it's really practical. So bottom line, this Kizer Task is one of the most, you know, we all buy knives for different reasons, stupid reasons, but this knife, as far as, is there anything wrong with it for carrying it around and using it as an actual knife, the way that knives are supposed to be used? I think it's perfect. The micarta, the fact that it ages well, not too much billboarding, interesting grind, good blade shape, hollow grind, fidgety, adjustable, not too expensive. And if they ever liquidate this like Kizer does, because they'll put this thing on sale for like 53 bucks, super good deal. So yeah, I mean, just really 2 thumbs up on the Kizer Task.